Started at 12:06. I think we were waiting on one more commissioner, but we do have quorum. So we've got a big agenda today, and I'd like to go ahead and get started. Welcome to everyone, all of our guests in attendance, and all of our commissioners. We appreciate you all being here. If you are a guest and you're here to make public comment, can you please be sure to sign up? And before we begin, I want to offer a land acknowledgement, and you can follow along while I read out loud. Metro Arts stands and holds space on the unceded and sovereign lands of the Cherokee East, Yuchi and Shawnee peoples who have stewarded it for generations. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in the hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. We acknowledge we are all standing on ancestral lands, and we honor the thousands of enslaved African peoples whose lives were physically and spiritually stolen. We pay respects to elders past and present. Metro Arts invites you to request that you join in our commitment in getting to know our Native communities in more meaningful ways in alignment with our restorative arts practices. And with that, we will move on to approval of minutes. I know that we just received a corrected draft, so let's just take a few minutes to run through this and let me know if you have any changes or clarification. These are from November 21st and December 5th, so we are working on these two sets of minutes.
For the commissioners, the corrections are on page 3, item 3B3 under final approved framework. There was a highlighted motion and approval that's been now corrected on that page 3. And then below that at the bottom, final motion by Commissioner Lefkowitz with the total that's been inserted there as well. But they were both on page 3 for the corrections.
Vivian, I think I have a correction from November 21st. Under grants funding discussion, number 1, award structure changes. It says reduction of maximum award from $20,000 to $5,000. And that should be $10,000.
Madam Chair, I was present on the 21st, absent on the 5th. You showed me absent for both meetings.
Thank you so much. Correction on that. Does anyone have any other corrections?
Madam Chair, I was at the 21st one too. We were over at school board right before Thanksgiving. Yes. Okay.
Vivian, can you make that change, please? Anyone else have any changes or corrections? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Can you approve it with the corrections?
With the corrections, I'm sorry. Yes, approval with the corrections.
I move approval of the minutes with the corrections.
Thank you, Commissioner Watts. Second?
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Vivian, do we have anyone? Oh, hello, Commissioner Yu. You can come right up here. Thank you. Vivian, do we have any public comment that's been submitted prior to the meeting?
We do not have any public comment today.
Okay. Anyone signed up for public comment?
No one.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, there is one.
There's no one in public, sorry.
Okay. So you all have received one public comment? Yes. Okay, got it right here. Oh, yes. Yeah, I've seen that. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. We are moving right along to update and report from MHRC, and that is Director Tucker and Ashley Batchelder. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. We're here again, and hopefully it will, not that I don't enjoy sometimes coming to your meetings, but hopefully it will not be required. If I may, I think I need to give a context for my comments. Back in December of 2023, MHRC was presented with a claim of discrimination that resulted in a Title VI complaint filed against this commission and Metro Legal. What ensued in that was a conciliated agreement that would settle all claims if we would comply with this set of what made up the conciliation agreement. As of to date, all aspects of the conciliation agreement has been met but one. And the one that remains outstanding is the grant funding criteria and all of that. And it's necessary for me to say that many of you have sat in on meetings that we've had since September 23 of trying to work toward this end of what will be submitted to the council that must be approved by them, that you all will have to do every year from now on after you do your work of dispensing the money that's been allocated to you. At the source of this is the idea of equitable distribution of public resources. And what you're being presented with today will be what will ultimately get submitted to council. And what I think you have to know is that the entire work product that you have did not have contributions from art staff. It was completed solely by Ashley Batchelder and Tessa Ortiz. I have a treasure trove of unanswered emails, back and forth on documents. We have had 3 what I felt could have been breaches of this contract as a result of the lack of information from staff here that MHRC chose not to breach, but to work out with Metro Legal to rectify it, to continue to move on. Former Director Coleman was involved in that, and she was a good faith actor. And it appears that the optics of her absence belies the point that it was not her. Your grants manager has not been an active part, nor a collaborator or contributor to what you have. I think you need to know that, and you do with it what you will, because I think sometimes toxicity can come as one foreign chemical in a space or a multiplicity of foreign chemicals in a space. And I think you have the latter. But the product that you have, MHRC stands behind it. We think it's an equitable way forward. We think it's scalable. We think it's adjustable for you to be able to, as you decide, because you're the deciding authority. We believe that it's defensible. We believe that it gets at what your current policies around equity want to uphold. But I do think that I need to say what I just said so you know going forward clearly that you still have issues that you're going to have to deal with. And I'm grateful for Tessa and Ashley, who a couple weeks ago, again, we missed another deadline. MHRC was given the information on a Friday before the Monday submission. And I don't know whether you know that or not. It did not even include the changes that you all voted on in December. It was put together in a totally unprofessional manner. Part of it required my signature. I said on Saturday, I will not sign this document. Ashley and Tessa worked the weekend to fix these documents and to create them. And they have continued to work, even on to what came out of the grants meeting on the other day. They worked all yesterday to just finish what you're being presented with right now. Our job, my job, at all the times that I've appeared before you, I've made it clear. My singular goal was to hopefully get you all to understand the overall significance of this Title VI complaint. It's much larger than arts. It has implications all across Metro. Some of you should have received the boards and commissions manual that came out of this. It is a manual. Yes, that manual right there is a result of this conciliation agreement, which we think is a wonderful manual that, and I would encourage you to read it, that it will help you understand what it means to be a board and commission member and the power and the duty that you all hold. There are other elements that, and all of them have been met with this. So what you have today, MHRC will sign on to it. We are in support of it, and we still wish you well as you continue to navigate the myriad of issues that you have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Tucker. Does anyone have any questions or concerns that need to be cleared up right now while Director Tucker's here? Okay, thank you so much. We really appreciate all the work you've done, and of course to Tessa and to Ashley, Commissioner Lefkowitz, and everyone that's been involved, so thank you. Okay, we're going to move on into items for discussion and approval, and that begins with me and Public Art Committee. Sorry.
Madam Chair, we had discussed, you recognized me to discuss some procedural things.
My apologies, Tessa. I recognize Tessa to go through some policy and some other things that we need to discuss.
Chuck, did you get those slides? If not, okay. I've got some slides on what I'm about to discuss that I'll send out to you all. I apologize. I was running behind to finish the product that's in front of you regarding Thrive grants, so I didn't get my slide to Chuck on time. Chair Love has, wrong chair, Chair West has asked me to give a brief period of instructions on what abstentions mean and how that affects the vote and the passage of a vote. And so I'll read you my slides basically and take any questions on that. And then I also have a few other comments from legal. So abstentions, well, let me start here. So you as commissioners have a duty to vote. The mayor appointed you, the council confirmed you because they trust you with the ability to make decisions regarding Arts Commission business. And so it's the duty of every commissioner or board member who has an opinion on a question to express that, both in conversation about a motion, conversation about a topic, and then through your vote. If you choose to abstain, There's various reasons to abstain. Realistically, if it's the policy that's presented that you don't agree with, or you think need change or something like that, then that should probably be a vote no, right? And that's within your purview to do that. And hopefully you've discussed that in the discussion portion prior to the vote. If you are abstaining because you think that the law is wrong or something like that, generally in Tennessee, abstaining to let the courts decide is disfavored and impermissible because it defeats the purpose of having administrative bodies for governmental functions. And that's cited out of case law. It'll be in the slides I send out to you. If you abstain because you don't agree with the law or something, higher than just the policy, it can be viewed as you're trying to legislate in a way. And that is not your role here. Obviously, if you want to have some type of action outside of your role as a commissioner in the state legislature, you can do that. But generally, Tennessee law disfavors abstentions. Because really, abstentions, if you think about it, are a vote for the prevailing slide, and I'll explain that in a few seconds. So Robert's Rules, right? People joke about me carrying around this book. I am supposed to be your resident expert on Robert's Rules. Admittedly, I don't always get it exactly right sometimes, but anyone who's delved into Robert's Rules understands why. But Robert's Rules defines abstentions as an instant in which members who are present do not vote. They are not counted and have no effect on the result. So, for example, if there's 10 members present, we'll go with 10, it's an even number. 4 vote in affirmative for a motion, 3 vote against, and 3 abstain. What actually ends up happening is if all members voted on that, there should be, it should take 6 for the motion to carry. If 3 abstain, then you only have 7 total voting members, and then a motion carries with 4. And so it doesn't really apply to this commission at this point because we are generally full. But in the past, when this commission was missing a large majority of the members, the effect of abstentions could mean a motion could carry with just 3 or 4 votes, which is, if you think about the composition of this body, that is not the intention, right? The intention is there's 15 commissioners and 8 votes should carry a motion, and the policy is supported by at least 8 people. As Director Tucker gave a great plug to the legal handbook also talks about Robert's Rules, voting for something, voting against something, procedure when making policy decisions, and abstentions. I've emailed that out to everyone. I know Macy emailed that out to everyone. We doubled down on that effort as our team. If you have any questions about the legal handbook, anything in it, please contact myself or Macy Amos, who's my supervisor. We are here for you. We'll meet with you, anything. And so your bylaws don't necessarily speak directly to abstentions, but it does speak to quorum, which plays into whether a measure passes. Hopefully, in February or March, the bylaws will be officially amended. It's been a long-term project that's been delayed by other pressing matters of this commission. But the Metro Legal Department and myself, we have sent out a formal legal opinion that says 8 members of this body is quorum. And then your bylaws also speak to voting, and the most important thing is that it says a motion or resolution passes upon the affirmative vote of a majority of the commission members present and voting. An abstention means that you are not a member present and voting. And so we've got a lot of new commissioners. You guys are being asked to make very difficult decisions. The good news is there's a plan going into FY26, and hopefully there will be robust communication and dialogue and open meetings. The bad news is your role on this commission requires you to make decisions and requires you to make policy. And so it is inherent on you to be informed, ask your questions, have dialogue, and ideally not abstain from a vote. Since I have the floor, I do want to ask, Director Tucker spoke on the conciliation agreement. Are there any questions to legal regarding the conciliation agreement? Okay. I've emailed a copy out to everyone. If you did not get it via email, please let me know after this meeting. I will meet with you one-on-one via email anything, if there's questions, not just on the conciliation agreement, anything related to this commission. The last thing I want to say, and over the past couple days, there have been people who have been very gracious in comments towards me about the work for Thrive, the work with Ashley, Commissioner Lefkowitz. And this is not legal related. This is me on a personal level. Maybe my boss will get mad at me for this. I have been serving this country or the government in every capacity imaginable since I was 18 years old. I struggled when I came into law, finding something that gave me purpose that I had in the military. I will say my time at Metro, and it is funny as it sounds, my time working with Metro Arts has given me the most consequential feeling that I've had since I've came off of my active duty military service, because I know that the work and the decisions that is done within this local government has the largest impact on its citizens. And so I say that because the work that's going on right now is challenging and hard. The work with Metro Arts has been challenging and hard for a long time. And maybe it will continue to be challenging and hard, but it is consequential, it is important, and it has a true effect on the citizens and the people that we serve. And so I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to work with you all. I am grateful for the opportunity to serve the amazing people of Davidson County. And hopefully you all feel the same. And I say that just because I think it needs to be said. So any questions on abstentions, conciliation agreement, whatever, Commissioner Lefkowitz, I think you had a question before I went on a tangent.
Loved the tangent, by the way. And I do have a question, just because I may have missed this, but maybe it's just my own curiosity. When would you abstain if you had like a conflict of interest or something, right? That would be an example.
Conflicts of interest are a reason for abstentions. If you truly, there's been a couple of commissioners who abstain because they're brand new to the commission and they've been asked to vote on a long-standing issue where you really just don't feel like you can get a handle on the policy, and a vote one way or the other is just not appropriate. But really, those are the two situations. Any other questions?
Thank you, Tessa. Thank you for that explanation, and thank you for all of your service and everything. It's much appreciated. Okay. Thank you. Moving back on to items for discussion and approval. Number one is Public Art Committee. That's me. We did not have a meeting this month. All the public art projects are continuing. Arthur Avenue. We haven't actually, we could send out you all should have received in November and December the public art update, but we can send that out. But right now, there are no updates. Everything's running as smooth as possible. The one part is that the public art manager position, and this, we can get to this in hiring, but just so everyone knows, that position was a failed search, so we will need to post that again down the road. But I know Director Hall's here. We can discuss that. Okay, moving on to Vice Chair Harden and our Care Committee.
Thank you, Chair West. I don't have any tangible updates for the Care Committee. We have not met since last year. I'm meeting with staff next week to discuss the agenda. I imagine some of the fiscal year 26 things are going to be on at least our vision for this year. And I will say, I know that the CALN program has been something that staff's been working on. So I am hoping to connect with them next week as I see Claudia walking up to present on that. But please do reach out to me if you have an interest in attending and just looping into that Care Committee. I know that we do talk about equity a lot, and there's a lot of things that we'll be planning for. I think especially once we get through this grant cycle, there are a lot of still outstanding challenges that I think we have permanently, or I guess it's never permanent, but with our future grant cycles. So that's, I think, what we'll be looking at when we do meet in February. So, are there any questions?
Thank you, Vice Chair Harden. And we'll lead right into Claudia and the community leaders of Nashville. And Claudia, I believe you do have an action item, correct?
We do,
Okay,
yes.
go right ahead.
Thank you all for being here. I did want to give Tessa one more thanks because somehow in all of the other grant stuff she has made time to support our small program as well, and our legislation would not have passed without her support and without the help of Chuck Beard as well. Despite the tight timeline we've been working on, we were able to review and finalize our 12 host sites. We received 21 student applications and 20 mentor applications. We are excited and grateful for the turnout that we've had and how we can continue to grow the program in the future. On this slide, you will see a list of the 12 host sites that were reviewed and selected by staff using the rubric from our guidelines. I did want to note 10 of the 12 were also operating grant applicants, and looking at their budget size, we have at least one organization in each budget category that will be a host site. And we are excited about having such diverse opportunities for the students and grateful for that. Moving into the action item, our call for motion is that the staff recommends approval of the final grantees for Spring 2025 Community Arts Leaders of Nashville program.
Thank you, Claudia. Are there any questions or discussions on this?
Okay, so for clarity, the grantees are the organizations that you just had up there, right?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the Community Arts Leaders of Nashville grantees for the spring of 2025.
Second.
Any discussion?
So I'm just curious, the next steps would be to get the student applications and then...
So we have reviewed the student applications and are currently interviewing the students with a representative from each host site that we have already kind of made some pairs to narrow that process down and hopefully speed that up. So the tentative timeline, we are hoping to finish conducting interviews by next week and confirm the student that's paired with each host site by the end of next week, with a tentative start date of February 3rd for the students.
So that, yeah, all of this is happening this semester for, okay.
Yes.
That was my question, is the timeline. So this is the semester, so February through May.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
We, the February 3rd start date gives us 14 weeks still through the middle of May, so.
Just out of curiosity, how many organizations applied for this?
We had 15 organizations apply.
Tessa?
And just for clarity, I've seen the contractual setup. So this commission needs to approve this slate of grantees, because this slate of grantees will be receiving the grant and then redistributing to the mentors and to the students. So this is actually who these organizations or who Metro Arts will contract with. And state law allows the commission to contract directly without these contracts will not have to go back through legislation. So.
How much is it for the grantees?
So the total for each host site is $6,700. I'm happy to break down where that money goes as well. $3,750 will go to the students for the 14-week period. They will be paid at least bi-weekly, but ultimately that will be decided by the host site. Included in that $3,750 is $500 dedicated specifically to support the students with transportation. The mentors will receive $450, and ultimately the host sites will receive $2,500 for administration support.
Thank you, Claudia. I know firsthand what a great program this is, and just thank you so much.
Thank you.
If there's...
The mentors, are they part of the organization or are they outside?
They are outside of the organization.
Got it.
We had a really great turnout and are reviewing those applications next week. And we'll be sure to pair each student with someone outside of the organization so they have more connections to be made.
That's great. Love that. Thanks.
That's great. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'd like to take a motion. Already did? Okay, sorry. Okay, then we need to have a vote. Motion to approve the final grantees. Do we have a second?
We already
did.
We've already done that.
Yeah, sorry. And we need a roll call vote on this, if that's okay, Vivian.
That is cool.
That'd be great. Sorry, a
Nope,
little
you're fine.
insomnia.
All right. And I will call the absent names as well. If I can pull up my screen. Good God. All right. West,
Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Kurtz, Nichols Phillips, Rosenblum,
Yes.
Wade, Watts,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. The motion passes. Thank you, Claudia. Okay, moving right along to community engagement update with Chuck Beard.
Hello, bringing emotion and then some joy to the room again. I do want to say that the image in this first slide was from a coffee talk with Metro Arts in 2024 at Visual Minds Incorporated at 100 Taylor Arts, where they had coffee provided by a local company, Roast and Brews. So we don't do all this stuff alone, and just want to give credit to everybody a part of the process. Next slide. So we're here before the motion as to get the continued partnership with AmeriCorps with a United Way of Greater Nashville's hand-on program. This first slide, I'm just going to read a few things and then give context to where we're at. I'm a two-time alumnus of AmeriCorps, so I'm maybe more familiar than some of you, but AmeriCorps is a network of local, state, and national service programs that connect over 70,000 Americans each year in intensive service to meet community needs in education, environment, public safety, health, and homeland security. Members serve full-time or part-time positions over a 10 to 12-month period. Upon completion of their service, members receive an AmeriCorps education award to pay for college, graduate school, or pay back qualified student loans. Host sites give an initial investment level of pay that is then used in the overall salary match by the United Way for the member in our case. Last year, you may recall, was the pilot program for AmeriCorps between Metro Arts and Hands-On Nashville. It was the first AmeriCorps member to focus specifically on the arts sector for Hands-On, with the main concentration on community engagement, what is needed and available from Metro Arts with the Nashville creative community. Our first AmeriCorps member, who you recall, AJ Dykens Hodop, completed his term of service on December 5th. He was going to say a farewell with everybody with everything going on for that specially called meeting, but that got canceled. So don't worry, he's still around and he's still coming to all the things. I'll say a little bit more, but I want to give credit for AJ. After wrapping up nearly a year of meetings, events, conversations, research, and program development. On top of expanding coffee talks and other community engagements within all of Metro Arts programs, last year laid the foundation for big programs in the works that I'll give to in the updates after the motion at hand that reflects more work to be done internally and in the community at large. AJ, just a side note, left. He could have done another year of service, but he left to pursue an MFA this year. He's still, like I said, still around Nashville, but he's going to pursue that and use the money for graduate work. With the opportunities and obligations from Metro Arts involving community engagement needed this year and moving forward, United Way of Greater Nashville Hands-On staff has recognized the work we've done this past year and has paired us with another qualified and eager AmeriCorps member to serve this year until they start law school in the fall. Because the AmeriCorps agreement is an MOU with an entity outside of Metro government, we need to have the Arts Commission approve this to take it to Metro Council so the AmeriCorps member term of service can begin ASAP with us. To continue this AmeriCorps process between Metro Arts and United Way of Greater Nashville's Hands-On and start the next official AmeriCorps member term of service, the following needs to happen. Metro Arts Commission, you need to approve the program and the $3,750 necessary host site investment that would go towards the new AmeriCorps member salary. It's actually less than last year. And Metro Council would then need to approve the funding and program at their next meeting on February 4th, 2025. We probably could have got it approved if you approved it now at the next one next week, but we couldn't get it on the agenda. And so just the timing of it right now. And that AmeriCorps member is actually kind of onboarding. We're doing work with AmeriCorps with the hands-on program, which is a good thing overall. Other talking points for the AmeriCorps program, it's the hands-on with Nashville is involved with a cohort of around 23 other AmeriCorps members who have projects going on with community benefits across the board in diverse nonprofits, also focused on volunteerism and community engagement. So this isn't just like an isolated thing with Metro Arts. This is an inside view to work with Metro Arts and then get with the cohort and help the other city. And there's also a chance, it wasn't the case with AJ, but there's also a chance if there is like a emergency disaster relief, then they would leave their obligations with Metro Arts and then tend to that with probably like Red Cross or other things in town. So it's a unique opportunity in tragedy, but again, it's just a excellent way for people to get invested. And I will say this, not to call a name of the person since we all are deciding on stuff, but he is going to law school, the one that they paired with. And again, for me personally, it's just another way. AJ was a native Nashvilleian that went to this college and came back and is doing amazing things in the arts community as an artist as well. And this is another point, like, I'll say Tessa's name because everybody's saying Tessa today, but somebody that's going to go into a legal career. And then, like I said, to see all the everything with Metro, behind the curtains with Metro Arts and everything going on, another way that I think selfishly to mentor those people and have the team mentor those people with the arts. So with whatever their law career is going to be after that, it's impactful that they carry the heart of arts with them. So just wanted to say that. If you want to go to the next one. So, like I said, staff recommends approval of the continuation with AmeriCorps agreement between the United Way of Greater Nashville hands-on programs and Metro Arts for FY 25 and 26, with the internship beginning in February 25. And this one, I can take some questions in a minute if you want or have any, but this one is because they're leaving in the fall, it's kind of a special circumstance where they're going to do 675 hours, which they're getting counted right now with their work with Hands-On Nashville, but that's just going to like the first week of August. So that's why I said FY25 through FY26. So it's not like obligating us to another fiscal year and another contract or anything.
Thank you, Chuck. Can I call for a motion?
Make a motion to approve the continuation of the AmeriCorps agreement between United Way and Greater Nashville hands-on program and Metro Arts for FY 25 and 26 with the internship beginning in February 25.
Second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Questions for
No, I want to echo your comments about AJ. It was a joy to see him pretty much at every Metro Arts related event and around town. So it's cool to learn about that program and how he got here. And yeah, I'm excited to see him pursue his MFA. And yeah, I'm glad that he was able to be here. I'm kind of sad that he didn't get to say goodbye. But if you're listening, AJ, we enjoyed having you. So thank you.
He's probably watching.
any other questions or discussion? Thank you, Chuck. I'd like to do a roll call vote for this as well since it's legislation.
All right. West,
Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Dupree Love,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Kurtz, Nichols Phillips, Rosenblum,
Yes.
Wade, Watts,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
11 yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. Appreciate all your work, Chuck.
Cool.
Really appreciate
Thank you.
Always
To the
bringing
next
fun.
one. This is
Next
gonna.
one.
This is the joy
This is
part.
fun.
So,
Yeah.
I will say this too, because former director Coleman's not here. She trusted me to do my job and the team around us, and this is some of the fruits of the foundation that we've laid last year with the relationships and AmeriCorps stuff. So I'm a writer, so I'll just read what I wrote so I can keep it straight. So for the next item on the agenda with updates, I just want to always continue to keep it real. One of the biggest things that came out of the first term of AmeriCorps with AJ and research and community engagement needs and things Metro should be doing better with the conversation of what art means to Nashville the true value and impact of art. Not only is the conversation not where it should be, but the lack of inclusion of the actual artists in the conversation is staggering. Point blank, there isn't enough perspectives and voices heard by the people creating the Nashville we all live in. It's not just a lack of real talk and representation, not only in this commission, but also evident in staff, Metro Council, and the state representatives on Capitol Hill with artists. My mantra for Metro is that it has been worse, it should be better, and everyone has homework to do and learn and do. So what do we do now? We do our jobs and use our privileges and platforms to help everyone be better by building examples to inspire more examples. An example that we announced last week at a coffee talk with Metro Arts and want to share news about today is a new program called Metro Arts Forging Ahead. It's going to be a collaboration with Metro Arts, NECAT Studios under Nashville Public Library, and the Forge/Arts and Entertainment Council representation. The first season will be 10 one-hour conversations featuring Nashville artists of every medium and notoriety, and one live show in December of 2025. Recordings will broadcast on NECAT, on YouTube, on the radio, at WXNA eventually, and as well as a downloadable podcast. So with this program, all involved, all artists too, hope it will be a big step in involving actual Nashville artists into the biggest conversations that aren't being had to the extent that they should with artists at the table. And when I say artists, I'm not going to feed prior misconceptions and blanket statements about who are artists or their capabilities. For every show, we will have 3 categories of featured artists. One will always be someone who works for an arts organization or nonprofit who does their own art as well. The first feature will be Jin Lin from the Chinese Arts Alliance in Nashville, who also does her own choreography and dance. The second feature will always be an independent professional who also does their art on the side as well. For the first show, this will be Rashad Rayford, aka Rashad the Poet, who also runs his own business called Elevate Your Vibe, and is also a musician, actor, and poet, among other things. The third feature will be an employee of Metro, who is also an artist on the side, and the first show will feature Lauren Bufford, who is the executive director of the Parthenon, and is also a co-founder and DJ at WXNA. We will also have a live painter for every one of the 10 episodes, splitting 5 shows with 5 shows between Megan Jordan, who was on the recent working group with Metro Arts, and then also Heidi Schwartz. And we will have a special correspondent with Willie Sims, aka Big Fella, who is a rep on the Arts and Entertainment Council and has his studio for Fellovision at the Forge, hence the Metro Arts Forging Ahead. There will be a live show at the Forge Nashville to end the first season of this program and also celebrate a pop-up exhibition from all of the paintings from all of the episodes. And in the end, everyone involved with Metro, me as a host with Metro Arts, Cameron McCaslin and his crew, the ED at NECAT, and the NPL, and involved with National Public Library, and Big Fellow with the Arts and Entertainment Council. We are all excited to have these conversations and elevate voices from the people creating in the city so that everyone who makes decisions on every level, who may not be as informed about the creative ecosystem as they could and should be, can listen, watch, and learn about the reality of creativity that fuels the city. You can check socials with NECAT Network with posts today and yesterday regarding the first one being aired on January 29th of this month at the NECAT Network Studios. And then next slide. And then one other update is just a reminder of the Coffee Talk with Metro Arts series we have been evolving and growing this past year on a monthly and sometimes bi-monthly basis. It's more than just a social gathering or networking. It has served as another opportunity for artists, art administrators, various Metro employees and programs, and all types of professionals to hear about and connect with everything going on in our creative city. We have started to host them at coffee shops, galleries, various Metro buildings and businesses who want to be a part of the process and either are already are helping or want to help provide space for creatives to do what they do. And backtrack with the count last week when we had one and Claudia came and spoke, we had 4 people that signed up and applied as mentors. So it's making a difference with all the different programs and being involved, and it's just a touch point, and it's been a saving grace throughout the silence and chaos of the last year, honestly, to see people in real life again and get to know more than just titles and roles. So the second of the 2 events, as pictured here, for January 2025 is going to be next Wednesday, January 22nd, and we're co-hosting this round with Metro Parks Visual Arts Centennial Arts Center. Address is there. We'll post about that stuff later. And everybody brings different featured guests from all walks of life to tell what they've got to do or what's going on right now and what's pertinent to the calendar and how we all can be excited about what we're all doing and share, not just Metro Arts, but just Metro in general. Coffee and light refreshments are usually provided if we're not at a place where we can support them and all pay for whatever we do. And yeah, you can find more information on the socials as we post them before these events. Please share with others whether you can attend or not, including commissioners and everybody in Metro. We're always planning for the next month, so feel free to contact me with any location or program suggestions as we all help each other out. It takes a village, regardless of the title or role in this conversation, and just excited about all the things that are coming together on all these programs that you just heard about. So that's my update.
Thank you, Chuck. You always bring the light and so much. I'm sorry. Joy, yes.
Oh, and we're
joy.
going to get back on to, like I said, Dr. Coleman had agreed, talked about it as well, but once we get through this grant cycle, start having featured artists again at these meetings, at least the larger commission ones. So I think it's very important.
I think this is a good reminder for all of us. This is all part of what we're here for. And so thank you so much. And anybody have any questions for Chuck before we move into grants and funding?
Quick, can we, like the live things, can people attend? Like,
oh yeah, it's going to be an audience. I mean, we're figuring it out as we go. I'm leaning into Cameron and their studio and their expertise and just kind of all of us showing up and doing what we do. But yeah, there's more information. It'll be January 29th, and they're posting those things too. So we'll see. This is my first thing in TV show with them. Although I did go last week and was featured on a show that they do with their studio called NECAT Now, and they had a Goodlettsville branch manager after, and I just went on and talked about the lending library and some of these other things and account mentorships and more coffee talks. So just a great environment. And NECAT's just a wonderful thing. Once you can pay to take classes and make your own show, and it's everything on the spectrum. They're not one side of the story or political stuff. It's just a resource that, again, it's like the Greenway. I say, once you find out about it, it's been there the whole time, and whatever you want to use it for. So
the happiest thing I've heard since I've been on the commission. Really incredible. So.
Was a lot of people involved in this, and it's been months. Like I said, Dr. Coleman believed in that idea and told me to go forth with it. And meeting all those people at NECAT, they're just phenomenal. Cameron's an award-winning filmmaker that just ended up at NECAT and gets to do what he loves, and then it's under the library now, so it's all under Metro, and he's worried, we've already booked the first season, so it's like when people tell us you have to have this person on, so it's just like we're kind of going forward with good ideas and good people and elevating the conversation, like I said, that's not having, so everybody can learn more that wants to.
Commissioner, you?
Yes, I have a question, Chuck, and thank you for all the work you do, and I apologize, I'm still recovering from my laryngitis. How do you select the featured artists?
Just right now, it's to build example. You have to start from something. So it's not like if it was just Metro Arts doing this, we would probably have done a call for artists and different things. But because there's so many Metro institutions, it's just what works and to build example, and then we'll see what goes forward after this season. But like I said, trying to get representation from everybody, what makes sense with the idea, and looking forward to, like I said, representing a lot of the different Metro programs. So
thank you.
Yeah.
I love the idea of having the Metro employees, right, who are artists as well, kind of like people's side gigs, and because we know that's true, right, that so many artists are just walking around in these halls among us. So I think that's particularly really cool. So
for sure,
love it.
Thanks.
Where's the coffee talk? Where's that held?
The address. Let me see. Yeah, it's in Centennial Park, 301 25th Avenue North. So it's one of their centers there. But we'll post it. I'll post it Friday because I know Monday's a Metro holiday. So just to get it out there.
Thank you. And Trey?
And they move locations every time. So I think
we're in the talks with some people. I think we may go to Oasis Center for the one in February. So just like I said, we started with just coffee shops in a way to meet with Daniel Singh when he was executive director. So to just meet as people, and then as he left, it evolved into same with coffee talks. We were providing that. Our funds got frozen. We had to adapt like any other artist with no funds and budget, and making things happen. And as we've been doing them, and it's been important to each one. Like I said, I will say one example of not only the count thing, but the last one we had at the Forge to present this idea about the release with NECAT and everything in the Forge. There was older man that came in, and his daughter basically told him, you need to get out there. And he's been drawing for a long time, but he was insecure about sharing with anybody. And he was there, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And we all said, we don't either. And said, you need to talk to this person, this person, this person, and wondering about workshops and just connecting with people. And he was just like grateful that he was there. And again, not us getting credit, but that wouldn't happen if we don't make the effort to get in person and then share. And to the other point about diversifying the location throughout and not trying to do repeat after repeat of those places, but people are reaching out. Like some people from the Metro Parks came to several, and they're like, we want to do that too. Can we do it? And we're like, yeah, when do you want to do it? And if it works in our calendar without the stuff that is going on, then we make it happen. So, and we know that we try to be consistent with Wednesdays and that time. And again, the more that we're doing with community engagement, not just grants and not just these things, it's just like the equity work involved with all the programs. I'm looking forward to this next year of that we're established with community engagement. Didn't even have a job title until last year, but it's one of those things where we are engulfed and just make all the programming better as we all get to go forward and move things forward. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on into, I want to be conscious of time, everyone, because we've got several things we still need to complete. So moving into Grants and Funding Committee, Secretary Lefkowitz. To catch up, yesterday was the grants meeting. After that was an executive committee meeting. And then let's roll right into what you have.
Yes. So thank you, Chair West. We did have our first, reconstituted grants committee yesterday. And I just want to thank them. I felt like it was such a great meeting, and also thank last year's grant committee. We have two kind of holdover or people who were continuing, Commissioner Wade and Commissioner Jester, but we're just trying to really build on that work that was done. So in terms of the context of the grants meeting yesterday, as you'll recall, in our meeting in December and in the grants meeting in December 5th, we did pass the guidelines and criteria. And then the idea is that these were operationalized right through the documents and the legislation that is filed. So as does happen, sometimes we were having, I know the Grants Committee had policy discussions in their meetings. We had policy discussions in December as we were talking about this legislation, but there were some gaps that emerged that we needed to address. And we have the chance to address these today and to refile, right, the legislation by noon tomorrow. With council. So this allows us, considering these things today and yesterday, allows us to stay on track in terms of advancing this good product, right, that will get through council and help us start the work of distributing the funds to artists. So there were, could you go to the next slide, Chuck, just so I can see? Great. So I want to just briefly explain one of the policy gaps that we discovered, or that kind of emerged. That gap is that there was the possibility in the funding formula that was passed in December that we would have a surplus, and that we did not have a policy in place to deal with that surplus. So we had discussions of two different options yesterday in the Grants Committee meeting, ways that we could address that surplus. Chuck, can I see what the next slide is? Okay, so let me explain. Let me just use this. And what we looked at yesterday as a way of addressing this is to change the model for grants and funding. So we had passed a $10,000 maximum award for Thrive recipients. And there were elements of that award that made it challenging in terms of looking at the surplus. And so after discussion yesterday in the Grants Committee meeting, we recommend that this commission move to accept our recommendation. What we propose is that we rescind that $10,000 maximum award, and that instead we shift to a model, a funding formula that is going to scale requests to 75%. So, for example, if a Thrive applicant applies for a $20,000 grant, the maximum they'll receive, right, is 75% of that. And then what we do is we score requests. So we had some discussion, and I remember Commissioner Wade especially talking in the both the grants committee and in this meeting about the fact that, you know, not everyone who applies for a grant expects to get it. And then also we had discussion about maintaining the integrity of the projects, right? So the $10,000 award, you know, if you have a $20,000 project and you get $10,000, can you scale your project that way? So the 75% is kind of a middle ground, right, between a $10,000 award and a fully funded project. And then the scaling of the request means that we essentially rank order according to their score, and we essentially are giving the money away until it runs out. This avoids, we're going to talk in a minute, there may still be some leftover funds, but it avoids the possibility, right, of a surplus. One of the things that's important here is that so many months have gone by since these applicants have submitted these project ideas that we expect there to be a fair amount of attrition, right? And people who may decide not to submit again. And so this method of funding is just allows us, I think, to just give the money away until it runs out, and also maintains the integrity of the projects, I think. So that is our recommendation, and we probably need a motion to discuss it, but I'm happy to take questions or show you anything that I can to help make this clear.
Tessa, is there anything to add before we?
I put what I am calling a final draft of the Thrive guidelines and criteria in front of you today. It wasn't part of the original packet. I completed it right before, but it also gives you, I believe it's under funding model is the subtitle. And it kind of gives a bulleted point of the recommendations that came from Grants and Funding Committee yesterday. So also, just for a quick point of legal clarification, we are not resubmitting legislation. We're not late filing. What is discussed is an amendment to the legislation with this updated criteria.
Thank you. So let's make I need to entertain a motion for this.
I have a question.
We can discuss, I think, after we have the motion.
I make a motion that we discuss the changes being suggested.
Second.
Okay, discussion and questions.
Something was left out.
Sorry, excuse me.
Of that.
Excuse me. We need a vote on that motion.
Questions that are still, if we can go back to the first slide. This.
We need to vote on the motion for discussion.
Yeah, it's a motion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you made a motion. Yeah, you made a motion for discussion, and you seconded.
I mean, if it's the will of the commission to rescind that motion, and we can, there's a proposed motion on the slideshow to maybe center the discussion.
I would love to rescind my motion and focus our discussion on the motion that is currently being considered.
Okay, so we need to state a motion. So it can be the motion that's on the presentation. It can be a motion similar to that. It can be a different motion, but
I move that we accept the Grants and Funding Committee recommendation to rescind the $10,000 maximum award for Thrive and adopt a funding formula that scales requests to 75% and scores requests by rank order, with staff completing a second review in the case of any ties.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah. The piece that is missing that we discussed yesterday is about the surplus, about the, it's been abbreviated by rank ordering. It's on. Am I not loud enough? Sorry. I don't have our paperwork from yesterday, so I don't remember how it was worded, but it was already written in there that all the money would be used to the end, and this doesn't have that in there.
I think there are a number of motions, and it would be helpful maybe if we saw what all of them are before we, because I noticed that on one of the next slides that is included. So it's a little weird because there's like 5 different motions. So is it appropriate for us to see them all, or do we need to go step by step?
So there's a motion and discussion happening. There's a motion, so discussion should be to that motion. If we want to rescind the motion again and then allow Commissioner Lefkowitz to further go through her presentation before taking resolutions on the decisions, that would be appropriate.
I move that we rescind the motion currently, and okay, sorry.
Commissioner Knight can just rescind his motion.
Yes, I will rescind the motion. Let's complete the presentation on all these motions and then move forward from there.
That's great. Let's do that. Okay. So to your point, I think this will become clear as I go through. So let me just show all the slides with the motions. I think is that in case. So let me go to the next slide, and then so related to that, in terms of thinking about, there still may be, to your point, like that kind of remainder funds, that in the event that there is a surplus or a remainder in Thrive funding, the remaining funds are divided evenly among Thrive awardees and added to their total award. And so that was the second piece, which is kind of just another kind of gap, or, just a possibility we want to consider in policy, all different kinds of things that could happen. And so this would address any potential remainder. And then we can go to the next slide. The next thing that we discussed was thinking about, we had a lot of discussion in the meeting about underrepresented council districts as a kind of thinking about priority for funding for Thrive projects. This was an example of kind of us trying to make policy in the commission meeting, and that was really challenging because we didn't have the data that we needed. We weren't able to really quantify what we meant by underfunded or how that would play out. So it was the recommendation of the commission or the committee yesterday that for this grant cycle that we rescind that provision, because the conversation was that we don't have enough time today and before noon to kind of really quantify what that means, and then as a committee that we are going to put that back on for this next grant cycle, which begins now, right? And so we do want to attend to this, and we think it's an important part of what we want to do. We just want to be clear. And so that was the recommendation. Can you advance? Thank you. And then the last motion for Thrive was that we realize that that artists and organizations have been waiting a long time for funding, and what we want to do is to propose an accelerated timeline, which you have a copy of, that would, we feel, strike a balance between giving applicants enough time to go back in and look at their applications and make any changes that they needed. That would simultaneously give staff some direction in terms of the calendar and the things that will happen and panels, and that would allow us as a commission and a committee to approve these applications by the end of February, which could mean that contracts would be executed in early March. The timeline, there was another there have been other kind of ideas for timelines, but this one was developed with that idea of kind of, is it possible for us to get through this, and so that by early March these contracts could be going out in an effort to get the money out the door. So those were the discussions around Thrive. Can you go to the next slide? There was only one recommendation for operating grants. So there were no policy gaps that needed to be addressed. But the recommendation was that the committee appoint a commissioner, and I drew the straw. And so that that you would be authorizing me, I guess, to work with staff to make the edits to the packet in order to meet the deadline of noon tomorrow. So pulling an all-nighter with Tessa, that's kind of what we're talking about here. Not really, but that we could assist the staff in getting this through and amended. So. Now, Tessa, could you advise us about how we can discuss, or if there are questions about particular pieces of this? Should we go back and do it motion by motion now that everybody has seen this? And so if there is something that I want to make sure in my committee that I've represented this.
Yeah,
correctly.
and I just asked Chuck if he's got the full timeline, because I know what's on the motion is kind of an abbreviated version of that. Is it in the packet? Thank you. Perfect. Thank you to whomever did that. I think if there's just general discussion based on anything that Commissioner Lefkowitz talks about, that can be fleshed out now. But if there's specific discussion, as you've seen the proposed motions, that the motion should be put on the table and then further discussed.
I guess my question is actually for Tessa with respect to these motions. There are 5 of them. As I hear them and read them, there are 3 that really are really the process of applications, timelines, et cetera. And the other 2 are sort of standalones. And is it possible to bundle the first 3 and take all the issues there and then do 4 and 5? Only for clarity, because at some point, if we take motion by motion, we could approve something that's not clear in that motion, and that's my concern, is that we understand what it is and what the motion is what we're recommending, because the first 3 are attached. The second 2 could stand alone. So.
Yes, I'm pulling up. I've got my copy of it. So you're saying just for clarity, the first motion, the second motion, and the third motion, kind of take those
because
together.
it's dependent issues in those motions to the first motion.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna be
Absolutely,
I would
yeah.
be the one that would not do and would not want to approve motion 1 because it's contingent upon motion 2 and 3. So I think that's what was raised by my former commissioner as well. So to make this clear and understand what we're voting on.
Absolutely, and these motions were just based on the committee took this piecemeal, part by part. So that's what these motions are based off of. But someone wants to make a more expedient motion, that's always recommended. And just for clarity, these motions are, staff has a policy basically where they give the commission proposed motions based on their staff work. And so anytime there's a motion on the screen, the commission can make their own motion. So I just want to clarify that, and we're usually short on time at this commission, so that's just been the policy and the practice.
Chuck, will you scroll through these while I take a stab at this? I'd like to make a motion to accept the Grants and Funding Committee recommendation to rescind the $10,000 maximum award for Thrive and adopt a funding formula that scales request to 75% and scores request by rank order, with staff completing a second review in case of any ties. Furthermore, I want to include that we accept the Grants and Funding Committee recommendation that in the event of a surplus or remainder in Thrive funding, the remaining funds are divided evenly among Thrive awardees and added to their total award. Lastly, I'd like to add that we accept the Grants and Funding Committee recommendation to rescind the provision that priority funding be given to projects located in underrepresented council districts.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion and questions? Evan?
All right, so just making sure I understand, right? So 75%, right? Somebody could say the max you can ask for is 10,000, or are you saying like somebody can ask for 50 and 75% of that they get awarded?
So the maximum amount that Thrive applicants could apply for is $20,000.
$20,000.
So there are a number of applications at that level, right, at $20,000. And in this way of thinking, they would not make any adjustments, right, to what they've submitted. They wouldn't need to. We as a commission would just be saying, we will be funding at a level of 75% those applications that are awarded funds. So if you, I'm so bad with math. On the spot, I have math anxiety. It's $20,000. What's 70? Thank you. $15,000, right, would be, if you had a $20,000 proposal, that would be the maximum that you would be awarded.
Gotcha.
And then we would say that across the board, right? And so that would rescind what the commission voted for in December, which was every proposal was like $10,000.
Okay.
And then we would do that rank ordering and until we run out of money. So the highest scores would be awarded that 75%. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, that makes sense. All
Okay.
right, so then my second question is
Yes.
The criteria for awarding. I'm sorry if I missed it. If I don't see it in my packet here, I'm looking for it. Maybe I'm missing it.
Yes, we were not making any changes in criteria based on what they submitted in their application.
Okay.
And the panelists that are pursuing that, to further what was saying and underscored in the second part up here, if there's anything left when we get to the bottom and there are tie scores based on that original criteria, then staff would step in and who had not previously ranked it and re-rank those that are tied to make sure that that's given out regularly. But the criteria itself, there have been no changes to.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
I guess I want to draw attention to that public comment we received. I just think it's interesting related to the surplus. Can I publicly disclose? We got a public comment from Jesse Strauss, and I won't read the entire thing, but Jesse Strauss with WPLN. It talks about additional cash being given out at the end of the grant cycle, and how it's a pleasant surprise, it says, but places a burden on organizations and artists to spend a large sum of money in a very short time. I know that we've shrunk this grant cycle period, and I know he offered two ideas. I know we cannot extend this grant cycle, and maybe this is a question for Tessa. Is there a possibility to repay for expenses related to these projects if they were in their original?
Like
yes. And otherwise, my second part to that is if they were to, do they have the option to refuse additional funds, and how would that, I guess, how would we go from there if someone did refuse? Because it would change the amounts likely. I don't know. It's just that I'm curious if there's a solution for that.
Yeah, so regarding this the time frame for this accounting for spending, so that essentially the grant spend plan is what we call it in the contracts. There is discussion right now between legal and finance on whether or not the spending plan can be different than the date in the contract, so the contract execution date. Traditionally, they line up for other grants. So I can't give you an answer right now on that, and I don't want to intimate towards something one way or the other. But that has been a discussion since, I think, Monday is when the question was posed. Regarding refusal of funds, so if a grantee were to get 75% of their ask, and let's say their project only needs $10,000 right now, and they've been awarded a maximum of $15,000, that could be dealt with in the contracting phase, where they say, this is what I've been awarded, but I actually only want to accept this, and then we would contract for that. Which I will say that makes it a little bit more difficult for staff, and then calculating surplus funds. And so ideally, when the the applications are reopened for amendments, the budget would be amended to reflect what the project's needs are funding-wise at the time.
I would think that resubmission with those edits would solve a lot of this, but also if people have applied for 20,000, they only get 15,000, any surplus is just going to help them toward that 20,000. I don't think it's going to be a significant surplus over their original ask. Right.
Yeah, it won't be over the original ask.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they can only get what they requested. So they could have a surplus. They might get 15,000, but they're not going to get all the way up to 20,000. So I think this idea of another surplus, while possible, seems less likely than other scenarios, or it may have been in the past.
And just on your timeline, it does talk about, that period of time in which the applications, and we made an adjustment to the timeline yesterday. So until February 18th, right? People will have the ability to go back in and make any edits they'd like to their applications.
And that timeline will come up in a next separate motion.
And just to your point about the extension, Trey, as well, Amanda Deaton-Moyer, we did ask, and there were, I think, several council members who asked about that kind of extension possibility, or knew that there were other organizations in which there had been, where the grant period had been extended, and she looked into those, and those were multi-year grants. And so the scenario was different, and so in this case, that would not apply. So that's been our concern all along, is trying to ask or look for a way in which can we give people more time, and we have not been able to figure that out.
I have a question. Just to clarify, so we have the update and resubmit applications. So nobody else now, or the grant is not opening for new applicants, or we have already applicants?
Right now, we're going to talk about that timeline in just a minute. So if you could hold that until the next motion, right? If that's okay, we'll talk about the timeline.
Yeah, that'll be in the next motion. Right now, we're on the 3 combined motions as one. So if there's no further discussion or questions, yes, Trey.
I don't want to keep revisiting. I guess I want some clarity on, so you surplus, if we're distributing even amounts and people apply for different, are we clarifying that you won't be funded over 100% of your ask? Is that a part of the deal? Because I'm seeing people have different asks, but then we're evenly distributing a surplus. So I just feel like it might be unbalanced. Is that something that we could say, okay, well, you won't get over 100% of your ask?
No, nobody will get over 100% of their ask.
Okay.
Yeah, so I previously opined in other meetings, you can't give someone more money than what they're asking for. And the fact that it's at 75%, and the way it's rank ordered and distributed essentially down the line of grantees, Ashley and I, more Ashley than me, have done some rough calculations, and the likelihood of a substantial surplus is very minimal. So.
Thank you. Sorry.
We do have a spreadsheet as well, which we can share with you that Ashley created, like kind of just running the numbers of how this looks. It looks terrible printed, but I'm happy to send it to you to show how this rank ordering would work.
I think logically the only time you would get in a situation where distributing a surplus to someone who has received 75% of their ask would be if a grantee's request was a very low amount, right? $1,000 maybe, because the surplus would be distributed across the whole eligible grantee field.
I think the bottom line too about this to the surplus is that this option, as Tessa was saying, really minimizes the possibility of the surplus as a challenge for us, right? As opposed to the other model, which there was a lot more, in that sense, there is more uncertainty in terms of that.
Selfishly, because I have to leave shortly, I wonder if it is appropriate for me to call the question and if we need to separate all three of them again, or if we can vote on all three together. All right, I call the question that we vote on all. Oh, Tessa's
Yeah,
saying
you're fine. You're fine.
I
Sorry.
call a question.
I need to.
Can I cancel my question? Okay.
We've got call a question, second to call a question.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Roll call vote.
Nope, second to the call it.
Second.
Vote on second to call a question. It won't work. I recommend this not be a roll call. Yes. Vote just
all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Any abstentions?
Well, I mean, I have one. Okay, I can't. Okay.
Vote. So no abstentions.
I'm not gonna vote against it.
Pat,
I'm just.
were you a vote against? No. Okay. So call a question passes. Immediately vote on the motion on the table.
So the motion passes. We all
Call the
voted.
question passes. We immediately vote. And
So now
Chair,
we
if
can
you want to
roll
do
call
that
vote.
via roll call, feel free to do so.
Please vote in.
West,
Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Dupree Love,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Kurtz, Nichols Phillips, Rosenblum,
Yes.
Wade, Watts,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, so we have a 2 o'clock out with Commissioner Knight. Also, I'd like to recognize that we need to move into part 5 before 2:30 as well. So moving into the recommended, let's see, we're on A2.
Correct. This is the motion about the timeline, to accept the timeline.
I'm prepared to make a motion that we accept the Grant and Fundings Committee recommendation for the timeline that was given to us today, which has more detail.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Commissioner Yu.
Yes, my question was in regards of if new people or applicants can apply for this, or we have already the list who applied in the past.
So it opens just to people who have already applied.
The deadline for this cycle, I believe, was January 19th, 2024. So these are applicants that were already in queue.
Just as a little background from yesterday's meeting, there was the desire to get this money in the hands of artists as soon as possible. So we talked about an even earlier possible timeline, but there was equal concern that the financial fiscal sponsor, I will learn that term one of these days, finding the fiscal sponsor and that process for artists might take a little more time and would be putting undue stress on them. So we sort of settled in a middle ground that would still get money in their hands quickly, but allow them to do that work with a little less stress.
Any other questions or discussion?
I have a question. So based on the timeline and considering the transition with Dr. Coleman resigning, do we have the staff in place who can fulfill their responsibilities on here? Okay.
That's a great question. So I will say that the timeline was developed and shared, and assuming that the staffing issue is resolved, today, as is on the agenda, and that yes, we have staff who are ready and able to do this work. That is, the feeling is that it is highly achievable. Now, is it going to be a lot of work? Yes, but that it is achievable.
Okay. No one else? No? Roll call vote? Roll call vote at the end, please. Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Dupree Love,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Kurtz, Nichols Phillips, Rosenblum,
Yes.
Wade, Watts,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
I make a motion to accept the Grants and Funding Committee recommendation that Commissioner Lefkowitz serve as the Commission's delegate to work with staff to make necessary edits to the legislative packet in order to meet the Friday, January 17th deadline.
Second, with a resounding thank you for being willing to do that, Commissioner Lefkowitz.
Any questions or discussion?
Just as, again, background, basically these edits are just to keep the formatting consistent between Thrive and operating grants so that we're looking at the most professional document possible.
And thank you, Commissioner Lefkowitz. Do you have anything to add?
And making sure that we incorporate these changes today that we're approving into the documents. Yes,
Just to be clear, this is due at noon tomorrow, so thank you. Okay, vote on this.
West,
Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Dupree Love,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Kurtz, Nichols Phillips, Rosenblum,
Yes.
Wade, Watts,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Passes.
Thank you. Due outs and next steps.
I think that'll connect to the next thing, so I think we're good.
Thank you.
Just thanks to the committee and to all of you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are moving into 5A, which is the Executive Committee update and Chair's report. I'll try to make this as brief as possible. Yesterday, we did have an Executive Committee meeting to discuss the interim director vacancy. We received Dr. Coleman's resignation on Saturday. It was effective Friday at 5 p.m. We want to wish her all the best in her resignation and in her retirement and thank her for all that she has done. Moving into that, I think at this point, to be respectful of time. Director Hall, would you like to come up and speak about the vacancy and what we reviewed yesterday, and then we can move from there? Thank you very much.
This isn't going to fit.
I hope I didn't catch you off guard. Thank you.
Obviously, we met yesterday to discuss the sudden vacancy of the director position. Given the current state of the grant cycle and the staff, including the numerous senior leader vacancies that still exist and a few more resignations that have happened since, we believe it's imperative that not only do you, as the Arts Commission, select an ED, an interim ED, as soon as possible, but also one that is uniquely aware and understands what is necessary to actually operationalize the grants process that you guys have now set into legislative motion. There's been a lot of work, obviously, done by a number of parties to get you to this point. A couple of those major parties have actually been discussed and acknowledged here today, including Tessa and Ashley Batchelter. They really have a clear understanding of this, but what I've definitely gotten much more insight into is really how much work is necessary on the other side of this to actually make this process happen. The actual advertising and education and coordination with artists to apply, and the processing of these, the evaluation of these. I think sometimes, as we discussed in a cycle that was fraught with a number of issues last year, I think we were focused on things like a contract and an issuance of payments. And frankly, I think those are some of the easier tasks when I really think through them. So having somebody that understands how all this works, how this grant cycle is scheduled to work, the deadlines that you all have outlined in order to make those possible, government operations, there are very few people that actually would be able to probably lead that effort for you at this point. And I think not selecting someone at this point that has those necessary skill sets will jeopardize your ability to have the grants process that you guys have just approved and outlined actually be completed in the time frame and the manner that you guys intend it to be. With her permission, Ashley Batchelter has allowed us to offer her name to the Arts Commission for consideration as an interim executive director. This is something that we reviewed with the executive committee yesterday. We do have a framework. This has periodically happened here at the Metropolitan government, where we had a Metro employee from another department who temporarily came in to lead interim another department. So there's kind of a clean break. They take a temporary leave from their position. They come to do this position, and then they, at the conclusion and the successful selection of a permanent director, which I really hope to support you in as soon as we are able to do so, then that person would return to their prior position. So we have a framework. We've discussed this. I believe that Ashley has the necessary skill sets and background in management of people to support the staff, to support these processes, already understands the government operations here at Metro, already has the partnerships with many of the departments and staff here at the Arts Commission. We offered that recommendation to the executive committee, and I believe that they've made that recommendation for the Arts Commission's consideration today. So with that, I'll just take a pause in case there are questions, and then turn it back over to the chair so that she can take up that recommendation.
I just have a question, and it deals with, I heard something in this that says there were other vacancies. What's the current count for staff, and what does that look like?
I don't know the actual count for staff. I will tell you current vacancies include the finance and operations manager position, which is a pretty key leader position here. Mm-hmm. The public art manager position is currently vacant. The public information officer is currently vacant. The The individual that was assisting on a part-time basis in helping with the financial operations of arts has also resigned. So we really are in a need to have those vacancies filled immediately. Legally, the Arts Commission has to have an executive director to manage staff and functions and to hire the staff that is necessary in those vacancies. That is a legal need for the commission. So any delays to selecting an executive director delays every one of not only the task and deliverables and lines of business not being supported currently by staff here, but also the inability to hire the staff necessary for those vacancies. I will say that there have continued to be, for a very long period of time, behind the scenes, a lot of staff members across multiple internal departments that have been trying to support and stand up the Arts Commission and its department. I am speaking certainly personally of my own department. For a very long period of time, we had a good working relationship with the interim director Coleman. We had a good collaborative effort. We gave her lots of support. It's hard with the amount of work that is necessary to perform, and she was not able to get to all the work that we were trying to assist her doing. But I know that there have been multiple staff members across multiple departments, including HR, finance, legal department, that have continued to give almost daily support just to keep the HR operations, the legal operations, the financial operations of this department afloat, even with an executive director. I expect those to continue in supporting the next interim executive director. And as I promised to you guys, probably June of last year, May or June of last year, our only goal is to stabilize this department, get a couple of these key vacancies that are necessary for your operations in order, and then have us conduct a permanent executive director search for you guys. I know a number of the commission members here are new. I will tell you this will now be the third executive director search that Metro HR will have had to conduct for this position in the past 5 years. And we are drowning in executive searches right now, trying to get to them as quickly as they are coming in. You guys are certainly a priority here, but I just want to make sure you understand there is a legal need to have an executive director, because that executive director has got to be able to manage and lead the staff and secure the vacancies. We do, with the collaboration and strong support of our office, we have been able to do 2 of the recruitments necessary for a couple of vacancies we've talked about, including the finance manager and the public information officer. Because of how much has been on the plate, Dr. Coleman wasn't able to help us finish off parts of that interview process. So we still think there are plenty of viable candidates on those lists. But right now I need to see if they're still interested in pursuing these positions. In this employee market, many of them likely have taken other opportunities. So the longer that any job posting takes from the time that you advertise it to the time you hire, the more qualified candidates you are likely to lose, as the job market will come and take them for you. So just noting that it's been about 2.5 months for both of those positions since those candidates applied and have been sitting there. But our office is committed to reaching out and trying to engage interest for some of the highly qualified. But our staff has done everything that we can up to this point, and now we are ready to work with the department, convene interview panels on a couple of those key strategic positions. But we have to have an executive director that will actually be able to sign the hiring of that. The commission can't do that. Metro HR can't legally do that.
Chair West, I have a question. I know you mentioned that oftentimes people from other departments come in and help out other departments when there's an interim position, but is there, and conflict may be a big word, but is there any conflict with someone from MHRC coming to serve as interim with the Arts Commission?
I don't know that I can speak to a conflict of interest, especially knowing that for right now, our priority is just the ability for the department to stay stabilized. Given where you are in the grant cycle, and I said this yesterday, I want to acknowledge it again. There are lots of important lines of business at Metro Arts. I know right now, and probably most of the discussion in the past year has been focused on the grant process of this. So I don't want to dismiss the important work that's happening in the other lines of business, but frankly, we have to get this grants process. We are trying desperately to try to support you through this grants process, because if it does not go according to plan, I think it has far-reaching implications. I'm not sure I can answer a conflict of interest. I don't know if Tessa has anything to add.
Given the state of the terms of conciliation agreement, that, as we just heard from Director Tucker, that this this legislation being approved and made public is really the last term of the conciliation agreement, that does more or less end any conflict, legal conflict on that basis. Should for some reason something come up where the agreement comes back up, there's some type of litigation, quasi-litigation on that, then we would have to implement, a version of a Chinese wall or other measures. So.
Thank you. Good question. Any other questions for Director Hall or in general? I can say from the executive committee meeting yesterday is that reiterating everything Director Hall just said, and Ashley is in a very unique position to be able to come in and operationalize this work, and knowing the organization as intimately as such, and then being able to return back to that position, and then to address the other open positions. We talked about that at length yesterday, because those are big critical positions. And so I think that yesterday was determined maybe in a month or so, but we don't want to attach to a timeline because we don't know where these applicants are. I believe there were 17 or 16 or so in each category that had been vetted through. So at this point, we can work on finding out who's still available. And in addition to that, to support the interim executive director, whoever that might be, in this sense, Ashley, we've formed a finance, budget, and audit committee that will help, because as we're running all the grants information, these budget deadlines are hitting at the exact same time. So there's a lot to be done in that sense, and the other lines of business, as you said. But just to know that a lot of these deadlines are hitting at the same time, so we want to be able to give the interim executive director as much support as possible in light of these, what I call vacuums. So
this is an observation from the person who was doing budget and oversight, that there are gaps with respect to people, with respect to some processes, or the implementation of new processes. So I think while the committee was ad hoc, and this is probably my last meeting. My term ends in February. I would recommend that this commission look at the issues and determine the gaps and where they are. And then I guess the other observation is, all due respect to where we're going with these grants, there's due dates for upcoming grants for the next fiscal year, which adds to the issue. And I just want to make sure that those are on the record, because at some point, we've done a few things over the last year where there have been gaps, and we have not responded to them for more than 45 to 60 days, just based on the nature of what was hitting us every day. This has been very chaotic. So I think to put things in place and to advise the arts community that we need to tell them where we're going and when we're going and how quickly we're going, and this is me, the process person, how quickly you all will get there, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Commissioner Watson. Thank you for your service. But yet, we are certainly cognizant of the fiscal year 26, and thank you for making it public. Yep. Commissioner Hart.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry. Related to what Commissioner Watson was saying, just circling on what Reverend Tucker said at the beginning about the sorry. There we go. Okay. Circling back around what Reverend Tucker said in the beginning about the current grants manager, and just considering that comment, and it might be important, I guess, for the new interim director to address that, because that could obviously hold us up tremendously. So, yeah.
Good point. Thank you. Yes. Commissioner Harden?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I do want to say about the recommendation at hand. I do think that in this tricky situation, Ashley is extremely capable of helping us work through this, especially on the grant side. So I appreciate her willingness to step in that front. I also want to just provide some of my own thoughts about Metro Arts as a whole as it relates to our leadership. And I think I remember last summer, late spring, when we did bring in Dr. Coleman, and I think I warned of this cycle. And today feels like the reset button a little bit. And I remember when I started working here, and I don't mean to go on my little tangent about what it was like, but we did have an executive director permanently that was here. We had a strategic plan that was released while I was there. I was on the public art team. There was specifically a public art community investment plan. And a lot of these things were not only improving different programs that we already had, but we were thinking about creating new programs. We had a vision. There were ideas that we were able to kind of explore and be creative with. We're the most creative agency in Metro. It's an opportunity. It's supposed to be exciting. And I haven't felt that in a while here. And I truly think Director Hall, I appreciate you saying that, our executive director permanency, that search is a priority. I think I would just like to ask that we make it more of a priority. I understand the idea of stabilization. I hear that. It makes sense to me, especially wanting to provide an attractive job for someone who can come and make a difference. But I also feel like we need somebody to help with that stabilization. And, I've been making this, not to pull the Titans in, but I've been making the whole Titans comparison in my head. Like, when we're the worst team in the league, we can't hire a new coach without, so I feel like we need a leader. Sorry, Titans, if you're watching. But, no, I really think that it's important that we do prioritize what the future of this organization is for permanently, and not just how are we going to hold on through these next 3 months, or 4 months, 5 months, 6 months throughout this process. But I really would like for us to have a vision. I want us to, we're talking about fiscal year 26. I want us to be thinking about that with a vision and some consistency on what we think as a commission and what staff is doing. And when I was on staff, I remember having that plan, having that consistency. It was really helpful for me, not only to learn how to do my job, but it allowed me to think creatively and enjoy my job. And when you enjoy your job, you do it better, So I just want to say that. I think I've been thinking about how do I present this in a way that it lands, but I don't want to find myself in this chair next year or even later this year putting in another interim. And I know that, I don't know if what we can do. I think it's always the will of the commission. And I wonder what can we do to ask for some accountability on that. Can we set a date? Can we have a timeline of, by this date, we need to have started this process? And for me, this grant timeline is excellent to me because you can see how it'll play out. You can visualize it. There's a vision there. But I think we need something like that for Metro Arts as a whole with where we're going in order to really start to take those baby steps to getting back to the organization and agency I think we can be. So I just want to say that while you're here. And yeah, I don't know how everyone else feels. If you're feeling similar, I know I've heard some comments and I have heard of interest in that permanent position. So I know people are out there, circling and curious. So yeah, that's all I'll say.
Vice Chair Harden, do you mind if I remark on some of those? I agree with you. And I want you to know that this isn't being held up for the department to stabilize. As I noted earlier, we are drowning in executive recruitments. We have 50 plus departments at Metro. And we are moving as fast a pace as we can to work through all the executive directors. And frankly, if I'm just taking you and who got in line first, there's still an executive position that was in line before this. And so I have been going as quickly as possible with our team to do that. But I also want to make sure that we are executing well-informed executive processes to yield the best candidate we can to lead all of our metro departments. Most notably, right, just in the past fall, obviously we've been able to secure a new finance director, waste services director as a brand new standalone department, board of health director. I've got an ITS director vacancy. We've got a Metro Action Commission vacancy. We've got the Arts Commission. So just know that, if I'm just going in the timing of order of when these got in, I completely agree. I also commit, you may have seen some of this. I know Chair West has been here for a moment. When we bring this executive recruitment, we don't wait for one executive search to be done before we pick up another. We're often threading so that when the heavy lifts are happening on the beginning and usually the end of those cycles, we're trying to then drop the next one so that we're doing. So it means our team is constantly in heavy lift. Just so you know, I've got a department of 8 in talent acquisition. We are reaching close to 50,000 applicants for our jobs in 2024. And every one of those has to be reviewed. We have to read every single application and resume and then score and rank, much like we've done on your the public information officer, the finance officer. So I want you to know, we are kicking butt. We're moving as fast as we can. But I think part of that cycle is, and you guys are coming around, I'm also having to meet the other critical needs of the government as well. And we are trying to get to you as fast as possible. The other benefit, though, is having a stable department is going to make this a lot more attractive. So my hope was, when we were talking here in May and June, that we would be able to do both at the same time, right? Put you guys, and as we are moving through these as fast as we can on these executive recruitments, get the department in a really healthier place so that we could actually move forward. So just know when we bring this, we bring a very clear, defined timeline of deliverables, who's doing what. A lot of that heavy lift is happening with us when we do it. So I promise you that when we bring this executive recruitment, there will be a job posting you guys will be looking at. There will be a marketing piece. There will be a timeline of deliverables, most of which will be done by our beautiful team. So I promise and commit that to you. But I also encourage the Arts Commission, much to your point, to start looking at your beautiful lines of business you have in the Arts Commission and start putting together those timelines and deliverables for staff so that they have parts of the clarity that they need to be more effective with their jobs.
Thank you. And I want to say that that wasn't a personal attack on your work.
I just want to make sure. I think a lot of people don't know.
I just know that this is the opportunity for me. There are other boards, but this is where we're serving. And if anyone is listening, it sounds like if you had more resources, it might be able to, So, yeah, that's all I'm saying. Absolutely. I appreciate that commitment.
Can I, to your point too, both of these, I think. I like what you said about timeline, and because that's how I think and kind of see things. And maybe we can see our committee work too as a place where we can do some of the timeline pieces. To your point about visioning, like what comes next or what, kind of what. I don't know if there's just a way that we can incorporate some of that thinking while we're waiting, right, into our committee work and conversations among our committees. In terms of what do we want, like our own kind of vision. And I wonder if that's a space where we can share that as well.
I'd just like to say thank you for that explanation, because it has felt like for 6 months we've heard that we've been prioritized. And so I hadn't drawn any conclusions, but it certainly didn't feel like we had been. And so to hear that explanation is helpful. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Harden, thank you for saying that, because yes, I do remember 5-6 years ago when the staff had the ability to enjoy their jobs more, right? And you become more productive and all the things. But Director Hall, y'all have really taken it behind the scenes and right in front on so many things within the department. So thank you so much. And you and I will continue working together and discussing and moving forward. To touch on the election of interim director, I just would like to say that you have received Ashley Batchelder's resume and all those things. And if there are any questions, then let's take that now. But if not, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion.
It's me. Just a comment. I really appreciate the explanation. And, well, I have seen Ashley, how she worked, and I'm amazed that all the things, as well as this, have been put together in a very short period of time. And in regards of the hiring of the ED, besides the skills and all of that, I think what I've seen as a new commissioner, but as an artist and director of a nonprofit organization, I think I know it's a rush of the hiring process. I just want to mention that the person or the people who are going to be interviewing and seeing hiring this person, what I would do is also put attention about attitude besides the skills, of course, because we want skills and we want that person to be, involved with the knowledge of what is happening, be transparent, but also pay attention about the attitude of that person. I'm not a human resource staff or person, but I've seen and I have a board of directors. So we're always looking the skills, but also the attitude, the creativity, and being positive, and also to introduce that person to the rest of the team, because sometimes the interview can be, oh, I'm very nice, and she or he looks nice, but at the end or starting working, something happened, changes among the people who work for that person, and that's when that started creating those frictions. And I think this is something as Commissioner, I forgot your name, yes, said that we need to be creative, but work together. And it's a reset of what we're going to start. And I'm happy if the motion comes out about Ashley, but I just wanted to mention that. And I think this is a really great group of people, commissioners and the Metro staff, employees. And I think this year is going to be much better if we have that mentality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, this will close the conversation on the interim executive director vacancy, if there's no other discussion, and moving to election of interim director.
I'd like to make a motion that the commission appoint, what's the word? Appoint? Help me with the motion.
It was recommended from the executive committee. So.
I would like to make a motion that the commission accept the recommendation of the executive committee to ask Ashley Batchelder to serve as interim director of Metro Arts.
I'll second that motion.
Tessa, I'm looking at you because are we in process? As my parliamentarian point of contact here, and also legal, so just tell me if we're in process or.
Yeah.
Tessa, I have a secondary motion that I would suggest after this.
Okay, yeah, you're asking Ashley to serve. I would amend the motion to appoint.
Great. I rescind my previous motion. Great. I have another motion. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the executive committee recommendation and appoint Ashley Batchelder as interim executive director of Metro Arts.
I will second that motion.
Any questions or discussion? Commissioner Watts.
Yes. I know who Ashley is, but I'm not sure everyone does, and this is a public meeting, so I think we should put on the records a summary of her qualifications for the public as part of the meeting. I know who Ashley is, and I've said she's great, so I don't have a problem with that, but I think we need to put something on the record, not because as to what just a summary of her qualifications. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's not long. This is not a long, but a summary of her qualifications.
Ashley?
I was going to say, you guys should meet Ashley then.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Ashley, come on down.
Come on.
No, I wish we had Plinko.
My first qualification is that I can usually reach the microphone. Good afternoon. I'm Ashley Batchelder. I know some of you more than others, so thank you, Commissioner Watts, for asking me to introduce myself. I've been an employee of the Metro government for about 2.5 years with the Metro Human Relations Commission for my entire duration. I've served as the Director of Policy and Research there, where I lead our policy and research work. All the major reports that have come out of MHRC in the last 2.5 years have been completed by me and anybody that has worked with me there. Of course, for the last year, most of my effort has been directed with Metro Arts here. And so you all know me from the Title VI report, which has a lot of helpful information about how we got here, right? And so that's what you all know me from. Before I came to MHRC, I worked at a number of nonprofit advocacy organizations in Middle Tennessee. More broadly, I've done work in Bedford County, Shelbyville, Tennessee, doing eviction prevention, affordable housing work, supervising teams there. I've worked at a local nonprofit here where I was actually an interim co-director as an organization was going through a new reorganization, and so I was asked to come in as an interim co-director to hire a permanent co-director, and so I have uniquely been asked to do this before. I started my career in public health. I attended graduate school in Little Rock, Arkansas at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, College of Public Health, and at the Clinton School of Public Service, where I earned dual master's degrees about 14 years ago. I worked in academia for a long time. I thought I was going to pursue a career as a professor. I decided to change career tracks early when the pandemic began in 2020. But during my time in Arkansas and in Nashville working in academia, I supported the establishment of community academic partnerships. I've done a lot of training about capacity building in partnerships. I'm trained in research methods, evaluation, program management, and so I feel like I have a pretty diverse skill set, both across government, academics, nonprofit, and I can sort of speak to a few Metro Arts sort of specific things that I wanted to say as well while I have the mic. And so I did say yesterday, of course, I never expected that I would become so involved with Metro Arts, but here we are. And in my experience with the commission, I have been able to work with the two past directors. I do want to thank Dr. Coleman for stepping in when the commission needed a lot of support. I know that she put a lot of important and good work into establishing major tasks at the time, be it the implementation plan for the audit and other needs of the office. And so I do want to acknowledge the important work that she has done in the last several months. I also worked with former executive director Daniel Singh and really learned a lot about the vision that he offered and sort of the conversation that he forced around what is equitable distribution of funds in Metro Arts and how we think about it more broadly as well. I want to say that we don't want to take his work in vain, and those conversations are going to continue. I think you've heard that based on things that other staff members have said as well. So that interest is still here, and we know that it's a conversation that will continue. I want to say I'm very clear-eyed about the challenges. If you ask me to do this role, or whoever would be asked and eventually moved into this role, and I want to say I take very seriously the impact that the grant cycle has had right now that is really being shouldered by the arts community. I was contacted over the weekend by representatives from a small arts organization asking what the status and what the update was, because they don't know how they're going to pay their rent right now. And so, I hear about and I know the impact that this is having in the community, and I take that very seriously and am committed to helping do what we need to do. We've already talked about the work that's needed to operationalize the policies, and so I won't go into that, but through my involvement in this, through my involvement with the working group, I feel like I have established the relationships across the Metro government that we need to carry out this work. I had a lot of those relationships already before starting this work, and I've only strengthened them and broadened them through my role here. And so, despite the challenges, I do feel confident that if we create the conditions within the team, within the office as well, that we'll find ways that everybody can really do what needs to be done in the weeks ahead, in the months ahead. And it was already mentioned, but I definitely wanted to talk about setting up the FY26 cycle as well, because we do not want another cycle that is going to be so late. We don't want to have this for the third year in a row, right? So I want to acknowledge that. I know that grants are not the only thing of Metro Arts. Since yesterday, since my name was put out publicly yesterday, I've heard from staff in restorative arts and public arts and the community engagement team who have, sort of said, looking forward to the future if this is the will of the commission, right? And so I'm excited to learn more about other program areas and to find, again, opportunities for connecting across the staff and bringing back more of the joy that should be in this department. I know that there's a lot of work to do that's been laid out in the audit and the implementation plan that exists, and I feel confident in my ability to set up systems and policies, procedures, and the training that is needed to follow those. My office is actually right next to the audit office, and so I know a lot of those key folks already just through friendly hallway conversations, and so I feel confident in my ability to continue to broaden my relationships as needed. And I know that it's budget season, which has already been mentioned. And so I know that Chair West has experience with the budget process specifically for Metro Arts. I have experience in general with the Metro budget process. And so that will also be a priority all throughout this, just really focused on measurable, demonstrated priority, progress, steps, clear reporting to you every month, as well as in between meetings. I staff a commission as well. I love working with my commission. I understand the relationship between commissions and EDs. How does the staff play into that? And so, I bring the experience of working with a large commission as well. I have a 17-person commission, so I know the challenges that causes, right? But I do have experience there. And so, especially for new commissioners, I just wanted to say that it would also be a priority of onboarding, training, making sure you're prepared. I would see that as my responsibility, along with the leadership of the commission, of those of you who have been here for a little while. And of course, my goal, as you all have stated, as Shannon has stated, is to really help facilitate and do whatever needs to be done to set up a new director. I love my job at MHRC. I love my team. I love my commission. I have fantastic mentorship there. I'm going to miss not being involved in the work that I will be temporarily stepping away for. So I would be here until you no longer need me, and I would love if that's sooner as well than later. So that is what I offer you. I'm happy to answer questions, but that's who I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
I'd just like to say thank you, Ashley, for providing us who know you and those who don't a view of who you are and how you work, because I think you've been very thorough. You probably know more than most people about Metro Arts right now, and I will say that publicly. I used to go to Ashley when I was doing budget and oversight and got more details than I could get from other people in the organization. So thank you for being willing to challenge. You've got the canvas, you've got the stage, either paint, produce, or whatever. I think you can do it. So I'm pleased that you're saying yes.
To echo that, yes, thank you for considering this and for being willing, Ashley. As you know, I said yesterday, I'm so very grateful. And if it is the will of the commission, you will have full support from me as chair and committees and others. So any other questions for Ashley? Thank you for giving an update on all of you.
Can I call the question?
Did you have a second?
Madam Chair and Commission, I do, just so that we have
called the question. Oh, sorry, I apologize, Director Hall. We have a call of the question. So is there a second to the call of the question?
Second.
All right, we have a second to call of the question. Vote on call of the question. Actually, I'm sorry. We never had a motion. There's no call of the question. Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry. Guys, I truly apologize. I'm working on very little sleep. So vote on call of the question, please. No, vote on call of the question. Yes, you're right. Yeah, let's go roll call on it.
Okay.
West,
Yes.
Hardin,
No.
Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Dupree Love,
Yes.
Brown,
You don't abstain from that.
This is just on call the question.
Yeah. We're going to take a vote after this.
It just means we'll stop debate and we'll immediately vote on the motion. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight, Kurtz, Nichols Phillips, Rosenblum,
Yes.
Wade, Watts,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
At this time, please vote on the motion to appoint Ashley Batchelder as the interim executive director.
Ready? All right. West,
Yes.
Hardin,
Yes.
Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Dupree Love,
No.
Brown,
Yes.
Jester,
Yes.
Khalil,
Yes.
Knight, Kurtz, Nichols Phillips, Rosenblum,
Yes.
Wade, Watts,
Yes.
you.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Carries.
Motion carries. May I now, thank you. May I now acknowledge Director Hall for,
You can, you're the chair.
yep. All right, Director
Thank you.
Hall, what you got?
Thank you, Chair and Commission. Just one last request for a motion, just to delegate the administrative task of figuring out like a start date and all of that. We obviously, she'll need to take a leave from her position, and that really means that she will leave MHRC and come here. I want to be able to discuss this with her, with the chair on the Arts Commission behalf, and Director Tucker, because this will obviously leave quite a big void. So I want to find a mutually agreeable date for all parties and administrative tasks necessary for her to start. So if I would ask that you all make a motion to delegate those tasks to myself and the chair on behalf of the Arts Commission.
I make a motion that we as a commission delegate the tasks associated with the start date and administrative things about Ashley to Director Hall and Chair West.
Second.
All in favor? Do we need a roll call on this or just, I don't think so. All in favor?
Can I say something in discussion real quick?
Yes, sorry.
I'd just like to say that I had a council member reach out to me yesterday evening imploring us to make sure that we more than fairly, or at least fairly compensated Ashley in what she's going to be doing for us. And so I just wanted to put that on the record that I am 100% behind Ashley and behind delegating this process to you. But on public record, we need to make sure that we're paying her very fairly for this job.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Director Hall. Thank you to your entire office. And Ashley, thank you so very, very much. It looks like our final agenda item is new and old business. I'll try to breeze through this because I know that we are pushing past just a little bit and everybody kind of needs to go. With Tessa's allowance, may I update the commission on assignments and schedules via an email and send it by you to the commission? Because one thing I'd like to do is ask Vivian, as we are a new commission, I'd like to know kind of when everybody is good to meet. I'd like Vivian to poll everyone and find out what days and times are good for you all, because we are operating on an past commission schedule. And keep in mind, it needs to be Monday through Friday. We definitely need to always check with our legal team to find out when they are available. But historically, we have planned out meetings for the year in terms of our commission meetings. We will have, things that come up, but there are committees to be held. So Vivian, if you can reach out to everyone.
Yes.
And find out when is good. Is this time good? Thursdays, noon to 2. I know a lot of people are having to leave their jobs in the middle of the day and what have you. So Vivian.
I just wanted to say, so as soon as this meeting is over, I've already created a document. It's a Word document. It just asks the time. There's 3 different times, or you're not available, whatever you want to put on there. And it also asks you the days that you would be available. And so I would go through with Ashley and Commissioner West to make a decision on when the time is best. And also on the form, it'll also ask you if you feel that your committee that you're respectively on and the commission, if you want to meet every month. I know that before I got here, there was a shift of meeting January, February, off March, April, May, off June. I just want to let you know, but as soon as this meeting is over, you all will receive that. And if you could get it back to me before end of business on January 24th by 4:30 at least. But as soon as it's over, I will send that out to you all. Sorry, can't talk.
Thank you. And all chairs should be communicating with Vivian well in advance of your meetings, putting together agendas, and sticking to getting information to commission in advance. So.
Can I just say,
Yes.
I will also, I'll send this to Tessa to send out, but I prepared that document a long time ago about how to prepare, about agendas and posting and things like that, and I'll send that out again for everybody. That, along with the legal manual and things like that, will be really helpful, I think, in terms of planning, and I'm super supportive of scheduling things out far in advance, too.
Oh, one other thing. So just so it is known, we can only schedule out 6 months for room space. I can do an entire year for this room. This room is done up until November as of right now. If I have to ask for those extra months, I will just ask the department who is over this room. I will ask for that. And I would let Chair West and Ashley know if we've received a yes or a no. But trying to keep us in one location. So we can't do other than 6 months. So January 30th, I will send out an email for July, and so on. So yeah, just so that is noted as well, because rooms are hard to get, right?
Lots of construction. Thank you so very much. In the old business again, the audit and finance update, we will have the committee, and I'm sure everyone received Dr. Coleman's direct report out. So I've gone through this. There are several dates that are right on top of us with several things. I've communicated with the audit department, budget. There's several things that I've emailed both finance and budget about. So just wanted everybody to know I also met with the staff on Monday for a few hours. We worked through some of these immediate things, and we had a great meeting. So other than that, moving into new business, unless anybody has anything to add in old business.
Since I'm soon to be old business.
Well, don't say that.
Well, at some point, with the term ending, I just want to put a button on it. I've enjoyed working with this body. I have learned a lot about Metro government. I will not define what that is. But I think that, this body has done a great job. I wish the new commissioners well. However, I noticed there's been some other vacancies coming up and other things and issues. And then I publicly want to thank Dr. Coleman for her service and for the work that she has put in, because there's been a few things that I thought was somewhat, it was gray in terms of whether it was whether she had done something wrong or those kind of things. And I think she did an excellent job. And I just want to say it on the record. And in working with her, I never had any problems whatsoever. And I think I've heard it from some of the staff members, and I appreciate hearing that. And just put that little button on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you for some reason, I thought you were rolling off in March. So it's earlier than I thought. So thank you so very, very much. Well, thank you so much. And I think to speak for us, again, thanking Dr. Coleman and wishing her so well in her retirement that is much deserved. So,
Chair West, could I ask for a point of privilege to say something about the last agenda item before we get too far away from it?
Yes.
I just wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank Reverend Tucker, because I know that you're giving up an incredible resource for us to be able to do this. And I just wanted to say thank you publicly from the commission for that, because I know you're losing quite a resource. So thank you.
As you said yesterday, Director Tucker, conflicted, but we were grateful. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And again, about the legal piece that went out to everybody, I really, really implore you all to go through this. It will teach you a lot. And this is part of the MHRC agreement. So this is part of the MHRC agreement. So,
Is this a time
Could I commend one more thing for people to watch? That if several commissioners were at the MHRC meeting on Monday, in which Ashley gave the update, but it was just an update for her commission, but it was very helpful, especially for new commissioners. If you weren't able to come or watch that, it was a good overview, and she gave an abbreviated version in the grants meeting yesterday, but that was very helpful to watch as well.
Just a quick new business thing. I know we were not able to align our calendars to do that retreat, but if it's possible, I still am interested in doing that with you all. And Vivian, I know that's another ask of like figuring calendars out, and I'm wondering if we can maybe do it during a commission meeting time. I don't know if that would make it easier, but I know I just want to put that out there for thought.
With the conversation that was already around that, I think that would be best. Because our meetings are having to be recorded, and that will have to be a public meeting. It cannot be a closed meeting, from what I've been told. So to make sure that we are by the book and the law, I think that would be best. If you want to jot down on the form what month you feel would be best for a retreat, and we can extend the time. So I would say make sure when you make your suggestion, whether that be June or July, that you put that you would want the retreat around that time. That is not what I'm suggesting month-wise, but if you want to, that would also help with the planning of the retreat for the commissioners.
I know the term retreat, it doesn't feel exactly right, but it might be workshop or something. But yeah, definitely a chance for us to possibly discuss our ideas and vision without necessarily dealing with agenda items as it relates to the work immediately. But thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. And I know Dr. Coleman and I talked about the retreat at the end of the year and looking at perhaps March. If that's because we don't have a commission meeting scheduled in March as of right now. We may need one. I'm not sure. I think we might. But that would be an opportunity for us to work around spring break and all that. And again, committee schedules, we'll get that sent out to everybody. Fiscal year 2026 grant cycle, we've touched on that. Budget and commission meeting schedule. And then upcoming key dates to be sent to commission by staff. Vivian, when you were doing that every other week, kind of like just anything that comes up that's a date that the staff needs us to know about in between meetings, can we ask you to delegate that out to us? Any important dates that come up, like for example, if there's a special session that comes up with council, or if there's things that the commission needs to know in between meetings, I can communicate with you and yep. So
if there's a schedule, I can go ahead and add it as a calendar item.
yeah, maybe this isn't. We can talk about this offline.
I will
Because
work
it's things that are
with-
coming up that the commission's going to need to know about. Like there is a special Apple session that's being set that I know everybody's going to need to know about. So just communication is key.
Vivian
I
and I
just
will
want to reiterate that.
Vivian and I will collaborate again on. We've both tried, and we're going to collaborate on a joint process for that.
Got it.
In that case, does anybody have anything else to add for new business? Because we are about 30 minutes over. Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Aye. Thank you much. So appreciated.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.